As things are heating up here in the United States for kind of different reasons, they are also doing sort of the same in Libya. Jimmy and JoAnne, welcome to the show. How are you tonight?
Thanks, Jason. We're okay. How about you? We have a
I'm doing
storm
well.
coming to Texas.
Yeah, we've
Storm?
got 2 hurricanes back to back coming.
Oh, yes. I saw that. Tropical systems will merge there in the
Yeah.
Gulf. Are you guys making preparations?
Well-
They're not going to be big hurricanes. We've had a lot bigger hurricanes than that, but I think they're going to be tropical storms
Lots of rain.
when they come over. Yeah.
It just seems like it's never ending. I mean, whether it's protests, riots, viruses,
It's
people telling
intentional.
us. Well,
Hard. You know, the earthquakes, there have been so many earthquakes, and a big piece of, was it Sweden or Scandinavia, fell off into the ocean.
wow,
That
I
just
didn't
happened.
hear about that.
Yeah, just happened a couple of days ago. That was a real freak deal. It was like you see an iceberg chunk away, big piece of dirt chunked away.
I think there's a lot of sections of Scandinavia where nobody lives because it's like oppressive. Was there?
I don't know. I didn't see it.
I don't know. It was. I didn't have time to dig in it a bunch, but it was, since it was dirt rather than ice, looked just like an ice fall, you know.
And
But,
there's a 0.4% chance that an asteroid's going to hit us
Yeah.
before the election.
That I have been keeping up on. You know, Shepard Ambellis and John
These
Cullen.
Fear mongering, and somebody else said, well, I guess we have a greater chance of dying from an asteroid than we do of COVID. That's 0.2% chance.
That's a good point. I don't know if it's fear mongering though. Just observing that NASA has been tracking these, near Earth objects. The thing that's so interesting about it is that these things are named after the year that they're discovered. And there are so many whose names are 2020 something, meaning it's not like they have a good handle on, long range forecasts of these things. And the most recent one came closer to the Earth than the moon is. It was less than 5,000 miles away. So that's pretty close.
Yeah, I don't know. The timing is a little suspect to me.
Yeah.
Right before the election.
I'm just saying, if an asteroid's going to hit, I hope it hits 23rd Street, and I don't know anything about it. We're going to be doing our sponsor exclusive show in just under 30 minutes. People are going to be able to watch that on patreon.com/James and JoAnne Moriarty, patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth, and subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth. We had a brief chance to discuss this, and I know that people who are tuning in want to hear the news about Libya. We're going to be talking about that. Jimmy and JoAnne have been in touch with the tribal leaders there, and there is a lot developing. Before we do that, though, I just want to talk for a minute about how this show and every show on Crowdsource the Truth is being suppressed by a litany of attacks from social engineers. The most recent coming from the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences. And the president of that organization has personally issued a YouTube strike against something that he believes to be a copyright claim. They're really digging in. It's kind of amazing that the president of television is so personally interested in what we're doing here on Crowdsource the Truth. What do you guys think about that?
Well, you must be making an impact,
You're making a difference.
And I'm telling you, they're such small-minded people at the top. You wonder how they ever got there, And
It's the Peter principle.
Yeah, that's true. But Jason, the fact of the matter is, things are happening so fast, and there's so much exposure and so much detail and things coming out. It's really, day by day, minute by minute occurrences that are happening. And as we said, the earthquakes and the freak storms and all these things that are really affecting all of us. And in our paid program, I've got a huge banking deal it shows just how evil these guys are, what their plans are. They're going to steal all our money, period.
They're already doing that.
Yeah, but they're really going to do it in earnest. I mean,
they're going to go on to control what you can buy, where you can go.
No money at all. It's all going to be digital, and they're pooling everybody's money. And in case the bank fails, you'll get a piece of the reserves that are left after the government takes their piece of the pool out. It's really a nasty deal.
Wow.
And we're going to go into that in detail. We've got a lot of stuff on Libya. The Libyans are showing the world what you have to do to fight back against the tyranny.
The Libyans have a tyrannical government that is a puppet of Turkey in Tripoli that was never elected, that was appointed by the UN for 2 years. It's gone on for 4. It's not there legally. It's not there legitimately. It has never done any government-like services for the Libyan people, so they're out of fuel, they're out of water, they're out of electricity, they're now out of food. And so the Libyan people have taken to the streets in protest, and they want the government thrown out. Well, what happened, the government is held up by these criminal terrorist mercenaries that are brought in by Erdogan to Tripoli and armed by him and paid for with the Libyan people's money, stolen by this GNA Tripoli Muslim Brotherhood government. People took to the streets in Green Square. They were fired upon with live bullets by the GNA mercenaries. 22 were killed yesterday.
Whoa. 22 civilians were killed.
22 civilians were killed.
Because they're hungry.
In 2011, 2 civilians were supposedly shot by snipers in Benghazi, and that made Libya as bad and Gaddafi as bad as Nazi Germany, and NATO had to go in and blow up the country.
Wow.
Now they're not even reporting this, Jason. They're reporting there were protests and there were problems, and the UN says, well, they might have used some force that wasn't acceptable. They aren't talking about anybody who died. They're just talking about, the people aren't happy with what's going on there. The leader ran off to a naval base. Siraj went and hid himself and his interior minister in a naval base.
That's a big deal. Let's just catch everybody up for a second, because I know a lot of people have heard this before, but you're talking, this GNA is the Government of National Accord, which was actually just installed by the UN. There is no national accord. It's the Government of International Accord by people who want to control Libya, but the people, there's much discord. So this is old. This is from July 29th. So when I looked up 22 civilians killed, this is the first thing that came up. It's amazing how the mainstream news doesn't seem to be in sync with what we're hearing from
protests in Tripoli. There will be, the UN made a statement, a very milquetoast statement, but it's really the government of the Muslim Brotherhood, which is headquartered out of Turkey, and the leader Siraj is of Turkish descent.
But here's something that's real telling: the disingenuous United States. AFRICOM has special elite troops on the ground in Libya supporting and protecting the GNA. Now, according to our government, we have no troops on the ground. That's just not true. And it looks like a squad or a team of the AFRICOM's U.S. soldiers went in there to evacuate or help evacuate this criminal running the GNA. And they moved him to Matiga Airport. And
no, they moved him to a naval base.
That's right.
That's Siraj.
They moved Siraj to a naval base along with his interior minister, Pashaga, or whatever his name is. And the naval commander at that base gave him 24 hours to leave. They said, you are not recognized as a legitimate person. You are illegitimate. You are Al-Qaeda, Muslim Brotherhood. You are not welcome here. Threw him out of the naval base.
Wow. So that's the Libyan National Army's naval base, I would presume. And this guy, Fayez al-Sarraj, is of Turkish descent, installed by the UN to be the prime minister of Libya. But this sounds like close to the end, doesn't it, JoAnne? If they're kind of chasing the prime minister out, that sounds pretty serious.
Yeah, and the result is that Turkey is moving their warships towards Libya now because they're worried about losing their puppet. So,
and Greece just ran off 5 of the Turkish submarines from their waters. That just happened. You know, the flying the ointment in that entire area is Erdogan. And he's just a mess. He's a psychopath.
I call him the Turkish madman.
Yeah.
And
he's not very popular anywhere.
No. Not even in his own country.
He's attempting to bring back the most evil empire that ever was on the earth, the Ottoman Empire. And that's his dream, but it's not going to happen in Libya. It's not going to happen. The Turkish people may take him out. They hate him too.
Wow. I think I've wondered this out loud for the past several weeks. If individuals, country government rulers like Erdogan aren't taking advantage of the fact that there's been so much internal fighting in the United States, with the Democrats doing everything they can possibly think of to try to get rid of Donald Trump. It seems to maybe weaken the United States in the eyes of some of these opportunistic people like Erdogan are flexing their muscles throughout the region, trying to drill in the water off Greece, doing all these really kind of outrageous things.
Yeah, it's true. And what's happened, the United States has been supporting Turkey in a lot of their illegal activities because Turkey is running the proxy armies for the New World Order, the ISIS, Al-Qaeda, LIFG, whatever you want to call them. These proxy armies that go in and destroy countries and throw them over, they call them rebels. They aren't rebels. They're hired mercenaries. But that's what Turkey's been doing for them for a long time. So they're allowing Turkey to do a lot of illegitimate, illegal crimes against humanity, really, is what they do every day.
And you guys had raised the point a couple shows ago, 2-3 weeks ago, that there were passports being handed out. You know, just over the weekend, I was down at a demonstration, a protest at City Hall that was protesting the shutdown of New York City, really something that anybody of any race or political orientation could get behind. I don't think we really want the city to be shut down and all the businesses to close. But there were some agitators there, one guy in particular who looked really young. He looked like 17 or 18 to me, and he had a very strong African accent. I'm not familiar enough with the different countries around Africa to identify his accent, but it seemed to me that if somebody that young were a citizen, be he naturalized or perhaps born here, he wouldn't have such a strong accent. Somebody that young with such a strong accent seems like they've just arrived either on a student visa, a tourist visa. Maybe he's a refugee, I don't know. But I am under the impression that protesting is specifically disallowed by student visas and tourist visas because we don't want to invite people into the country from other countries who don't like the United States or the United States government. The easy solution, if you're in another country and don't like us, is stay there.
Right.
Well, Jason, in New York, who in the hell is going to confront this guy?
I did.
Nobody.
Oh,
Well, yeah, but you know.
But you're one in a million, you know.
You got a set and nobody else does. I mean,
But the question is that how it would happen? They give out these passports that maybe somebody's from some country where you just would never get access to the United States. They give him a passport from a NATO country. Somebody, I'm not saying this guy, but somebody like that enters the country on a legitimate passport or given to him or whatever, and he agitates at these types of protests to overthrow the cops, the government.
Yeah,
that's what he's paid to do.
He's paid to do that.
But the fact is if they've got a permanent green card or multiple entry visa, then they have more latitude in confronting the authority and the government, and so they're really trained in these. And you know, Jason, we identified 29 CIA training centers in Libya during 2011 where they were training exactly these kinds of guys, changing their name, giving them a new Libyan passport, new Libyan name, and then they would be deposited in the United States with huge bank accounts. They came here with nothing because they received their weapons and explosives and everything after they arrived in the United States. And there were 400,000 processed through Libya into the United States that way, and we've been told a total of 4 million from CIA, Mossad, MI6 training centers all over, delivered in the United States. They're also delivered in England. They're delivered into Germany and France, etc.
That's what I was thinking when I saw this guy, because so many people who don't watch Unseen Libya or aren't subscribing to Jimmy and JoAnne on patreon.com/James and JoAnne Moriarty, they might not know this. And frankly, they're being indoctrinated by broadcast television, the same pile of crap that could potentially be awarded an Emmy Award from this guy who's got so much time on his hands that he's sitting around striking my YouTube videos trying to prevent this message from going out. People are indoctrinated by that. And so all of the people who spoke without accents were telling me I was racist, which I don't know how they arrived at that conclusion, because I didn't say you're black, so you must not be from the United States. There were plenty of black people there who were actually protesting against the types of activities this guy was doing. It was strictly because of his age and his accent that I presumed that he wasn't from the United States.
Jason, can I ask you to change one thing?
Sure.
Quit using your hands so much; it's too much gatish.
I can't help it.
I know.
It's how you speak. I know.
But the fact is that if you confronted that guy, and if he was one of these assholes that had a legitimate visa or passport or whatever, if you confront him, you're the guy that's going to go to jail, not him.
Well, I wouldn't physically fight him. That's not what I'm into.
But just the fact that you approached him, and he could come around and say you were aggressive to him, you scared him, etc., you'd be in trouble. And that's how upside down our whole system is.
Do you remember when Trump first came in, he cut off visas for Libya and a couple countries.
Right.
No more entry into the United States. And I can remember we had a discussion with I don't know if we were on Patreon or another show, but I think we were with Sheikh Tantouche, one of the imams, and they said, do you feel like you've been put out now because Trump says, are you targeted because Trump will let Libyans come in the United States? His answer was, listen, there's nobody in Libya that has any money. Legitimate Libyans don't have any money. They couldn't travel to the next city, more or less, to the United States. If Libyans are coming to the United States, they're not Libyans.
They're bad guys.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. So people don't know these things. They become indoctrinated by the news. They think that anybody saying anything in an argument against a black person is racist. There were black people there calling other black people racist because they said, no, we don't want to defund the police. This woman was telling me that I met the woman who put the blue paint on the Black Lives Matter, graffiti in front of Trump Tower. And they were all saying she's a traitor to black people and whatever. This is a woman who just wants safety and security in her neighborhood so that businesses can be there, so that she could have a business, so she could go to work, so her kids can be safe. And they tell her she's racist. The other thing that they do is, I agree with you. If this guy had a legitimate visa or was legitimately a citizen, he would have stuck on that point to the end. But immediately he backed up. He said, you're not 6 feet away. Put on your mask. His mask was off. Of course, they take the mask off to yell at you and then put it back on. I don't think they realize that when your mouth is open and nonsense is coming out, that's making me sick.
Yeah, exactly. Do you know
what that gal should have done, Jason? She should have taken the same color paint that they had painted the sign on the street. And in front of lives, if she just put an O in front of that, would have fixed the whole deal. Black olives matter.
It's true. And also, Good Things is telling us that her husband came from Iran in 1977. That had to be a very difficult time to be in the United States, being from Iran. But I'm sure he was fleeing religious persecution or whatever problems were going on there. He couldn't work. It took 10 years to get a green card. They had 2 kids before he became a citizen. He took a constitutional test in English. This is somebody who worked hard to become a citizen. And anybody like that who's come from another country and been through the legitimate process is proud of themselves, proud of this country, proud of the opportunity that all of that represents. And to just say, anybody can come in here and they have the right to criticize our way of life, to demoralize the police. This 17-year-old kid was
to break into stores.
Yeah.
To you know what Martin Luther King said. He said a peaceful protest is a nice thing, but when you throw the first rock or steal the first item, you now become a criminal.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what he said. So.
And Jason, try to immigrate into any other country.
You can't.
Big.
Right.
Even Mexico, Australia, any place you want to go, you've got to prove that you're going to be an asset to that country.
And even then it's difficult. Japan won't let you move in there. No. None of these countries will. Everybody says, I'm going to go to Canada if Donald Trump gets reelected. Canada doesn't want you. Other countries don't just want, douchebags coming into their country.
I've got some information on Canada that'll make your hair curl. We'll cover that in the paid show also.
We're almost getting to that, so people are going to want to take a minute to go over to patreon.com/James and JoAnne Moriarty or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth or Subscribestar. The other thing is, for people who are seeing Jimmy and JoAnne for the first time, it is really important that you visit LibyanWarTheTruth.com. That's Jimmy and JoAnne's webpage. It's totally free for people to visit and check out. If you sponsor Jimmy and JoAnne on Patreon, you're going to get access to our sponsor exclusive shows together, and you're also going to get a discount. You get free shipping on the DVD. The DVD is $15 and it's $5 to ship to you. It's a great way to get yourself up to speed on exactly what Jimmy and JoAnne were doing in 2011 when they started an oil services business in Libya. And this is how they became so close with the tribal leaders and how they came to be known by the Defense Intelligence Agency and General Michael Flynn as the greatest human intelligence asset in Libya that the United States has ever had. That's the general's words, not mine. So for people who want to learn about what's going on in Libya, join us in just 10 minutes from now on patreon.com/James and JoAnne Moriarty. Jimmy and JoAnne, any last minute words before we transition over to the sponsor exclusive show?
Here's something, Jason. We really appreciate all the work you do, and we abuse you dramatically every week. We keep extending the show. We have people that try to why don't you add more time so we get our questions in? And really, we cut the content back a bunch, and we're really considering, if you'll help us, we would like to maybe do just an audio only blog a couple times a week to try to get some of this stuff out. And
it's a great idea.
Opportunity to ask us questions, but because really and truly it's unfair for us to load your boat and keep loading it with all the other things you do also. But if you can help us with that, I think that's something we'd like to try to move forward on.
We appreciate everything you do, believe me.
And I appreciate you guys tremendously. I think that a podcast would be a great idea because there is so much information coming through, and I think people would enjoy not having to necessarily wait until Monday, so there could be a great opportunity to share more information from the tribes. Sorry, JoAnne, you were saying something there.
That's okay. I just wanted to say that the Libyans are starting to celebrate September 1st. Anniversary of their great Al Fatah revolution.
That's true.
That was 1969, September 1st, when the tribes appointed Gaddafi to take over the country. And that's why you see all the green flags out and the pictures of Saif and the pictures of Gaddafi, because people loved him dearly. He did so
They're
much for their country.
They're demanding an election. They're all signing.
Yeah, and this is another reason they're killing people in the streets, because this is a huge threat to the would-be Muslim Brotherhood that wants to own that country with Turkey.
I see, because this is a major source of national pride, and I mean, it's sort of like 4th of July, and I mean, I don't know that we could even necessarily understand how the people of Libya really loved Gaddafi. It's amazing to me when, people sort of my age who were indoctrinated by the same kind of propaganda that I was, don't understand. I remember long before I met you guys, I saw a YouTube video where Gaddafi was being driven around really in a pretty small, like regular looking convertible car. And he was just sitting on the back waving. People were running up to the car. He was shaking their hands and he seemed to be well loved. And then you guys told me that it's your firsthand experience that was absolutely the case.
We've never met Gaddafi, but we met him through the hearts and minds of his people, the millions of people that we met.
People that knew him, people that associated with him, they said he's a regular guy.
But
you go talk to him, he doesn't put a real hard persona forward.
He lived in it was a big tent, but he didn't have any desire to have a big mansion or anything. And the thing that's so great about him is what he did for his people. He made the country became sovereign, and he gave them, free education, free health care, a great system.
Became the most developed country in Africa.
Yeah, he shared the oil reserve, the oil asset reservoir, the oil money. That's what I'm trying to say. The oil money with the people, and there's so many things he did for Libya. It turned it into a beautiful country. Now it's absolutely a struggling country. People have been suffering for 10 years because of Hillary Clinton. Thank you very much, Nate.
And we've spoken quite a bit about how the African gold dinar was the currency that he created for all of Africa, not just Libya. And there's a lot of people, including me, who believe that that played a major role in his extermination. But we'll be back in just 5 minutes now. People can join us on patreon.com/James and JoAnne Moriarty, patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth, and subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth. We'll be there in 5 minutes. Thanks for watching, everybody.